Everyone, this is your host Ghost coming to you live with another wonderful video. How is everyone doing today? We are doing well ourselves here. Um yeah, got some decent sleep for once. I've been working myself tired. I hope someday in the future I will be able to do this just stream full time and I can quit my day job and just do this on the side or do this full time because man is it hard to do two jobs at once. uh this job isn't that like this second job, this side job here isn't that hard, not really, but and am I fucking tired sometimes. um whew. So before we announce the topics of the show or anything like that, I just want to talk, just give you just spread my whatever the word I'm looking for is. Make sure you follow me on official W Ghost on X. The best way to find out when I go live, what I'm doing, etc. of etceteras. Yeah, that's the best way. Rumble.com/with-ghost is where, if anything happens, that's where I'm gonna be for sure. Because Rumble is the last bastion of free speech. Not even X is It's like that because apparently X just reinstated their misgendering policy or something like that. Whatever. So rumble.com is the way to go. It's making new headways every day, getting bigger and better. So make sure you check out Rumble. Become a fan of Rumble. A lot of your top creators are more than likely on Rumble now. Well, some of your favorite creators that are value free speech, they're more than likely over at Rumble right now. So and then go and buy some Rumble stock, guys. It's only like it's under $7, so it's not too bad to buy. You can get a lot of it really quickly because eventually Rumble's going to blow up, and that stock's going to be costing a pretty penny. So let's be on the lookout for that. Yeah. So and then of course there's Twitch, twitch.tv/official with Ghost, YouTube, youtube.com/with Ghost. I think I'm not too good in YouTube where I'm you can find me like that, but if you follow me on X, you can follow me on you can find me on YouTube. Very easy. Yeah, so that's some housekeeping. Okay, cool. Just double checking my audio is good. Let's see, what is it? I think that's all my housekeeping really. I may do some streaming this weekend, some video game streaming, play some more Helldivers 2, a lot of fun there. But I don't know. In a couple weeks here, I should have my daughter of my third, my second kid coming. So I will be probably not streaming all of a sudden for like a good couple days. So if I stop streaming, that's why. But then I will quickly get back, and I will be in a more consistent basis because I will be on paternity leave for 3 months ish. So that's coming up real soon. All right, I don't think I got any other announcements there, so let's get into it. So we're going to talk about the Supreme Court hearing the Trump's immunity case, and it's kind of hilarious because everyone is losing their fucking minds, and they really don't seem to understand the arguments being made. That's becoming clearer and clearer every time I go on Twitter. It's coming clearer and clearer. People don't understand the arguments being made, what it actually means to have immunity, the ways you could actually end up removing said immunity, and the argument, there's that argument that Trump's lawyers made about him, he would be considered he wouldn't be able to be held criminally if he sent SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival, and all that stuff. So people are misunderstanding that and saying stupid shit like, oh well Biden should send SEAL Team 6 into the Supreme Court, blah, 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 blah. And it's kind of ridiculous. So we'll get into that. We're going to watch Rachel Maddow lose her fucking mind, which, every time it comes to Trump, she seems to lose her mind all the time. So we'll have a laugh at that. And an Illinois judge has removed Trump from the state ballot, trying to use the insurrectionist band. It's not going to go well for her. And then earlier this week, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday, can't remember, one of those days, I watched Biden talk about Trump, and he Biden mentioned that Trump couldn't even remember his own wife's name. We got a fact check on that. Turns out there's what he said, he was referring to someone else, not his wife. Oh, shocking. So we'll check that out. And then we'll talk about the nursing student Laken Riley, who was killed by a Venezuelan migrant. We'll talk about that, and now her murder apparently is being blamed on her. Apparently she's to blame for her murder. We'll see about that. And then the mayor, who I believe this is the mayor who who's in charge of the city that Laken Riley was murdered in, and apparently has more empathy for the illegal immigrants than the murder victim. We'll look at that real quick. And then Mitch McConnell is stepping down from GOP leadership. And so we'll look at that real quick. And then finally, apparently, Steve Baker, a journalist at the Blaze, has been taken into FBI custody. And so we'll check out that. Apparently, we're jailing reporters now. All right. So let's get into it. So yeah, we'll get into the Supreme Court immunity thing. It's becoming clear that people, I don't know why people they're all seem to be surprised that the Supreme Court is going to hear Trump's immunity case, and I really don't understand why. Like of course they were going to hear this. Even Jack Smith knew they were going to hear this. That's why he petitioned for them to accelerate and not, skip the process and just go to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court was like, "No, bud, we'll just go through the process." And now they've done a bit of a compromise and done what neither of the parties have really wanted, because they're going to hear his immunity case April 22nd. Be very interesting. I might listen into this. I might actually go and actually listen to it. Not do it live or anything, but after they do the transcript, because federal courts they don't record anything like video-y, but they do audio ones, so you can listen to the audio and listen to what they say and everything like that. So we'll check that out. I might do that because I'll be off April 22nd. But yeah, so April 22nd, they're going to hear the case, and they've done it where, they haven't rushed it like Jack Smith wanted, but they haven't delayed it to the point where if they decide, no, Trump does not have immunity, then Jack Smith could still potentially have his trial before the election. But it'd be really close to the election. So who knows? Yeah, but I've been on Twitter, and everyone is losing their fucking minds, and just it's kind of fucking hilarious, honestly. People keep saying we should, we should have people march on the Supreme Court and show our displeasure and blah 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 blah. They don't seem to understand that the Supreme Court's a lifetime appointment, so they're not really beholden to the will of the people every 4 5 years or whatever. They're lifetime appointments, so they can just say, "All right, cool, go fuck yourself." Like that's what they can really do. Because the only way to remove a Supreme Court justice is by impeachment. And whether you like, any of the Supreme Court justices or not, it's very hard for you to try and convince what you would need to get them impeached. Sorry. It'd be very hard to, impeach him regardless. I mean, I don't think I've ever heard, I think there's only been one Supreme Court justice who's been impeached. My daughter. So I don't think people really understand that it's very hard to impeach a Supreme Court justice, but they think that just by just stepping, marching on the steps, that will convince them to do what they want. But it doesn't really work that way because the Supreme Court justices aren't really beholden to the will of the people. So it's interesting. And then another thing I keep seeing is this whole call to have Biden send the SEAL Team 6 onto into the Supreme Courts while the arguments are being made. And I don't understand how that would have to do with anything. One, it would I don't think it really could do that. The Supreme Court justice can be like, yeah, you guys can just leave. You don't have to be here. They can do that. Just because the president orders someone in there doesn't mean the Supreme Court justice can be like, yeah, you can stay. They could be like, okay, you guys can leave. You're not allowed in the courtroom. Simple as that. So, and I guess this is just kind of some sort of like jump off from the Trump attorney's arguments that Trump could, theoretically send SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival, and he would be immune to that criminally. And so people hear that and they're just like, oh, well, now Biden can do that, blah, 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 blah. But they don't really understand the argument. The argument being that it would be within, like, he could be absolutely, he could be immune to sending um because the way it works is if the president does something uh impeachable, it's on the Congress to impeach him. And if the impeachment doesn't have enough votes, it doesn't go forward. If they go to the trial and they don't have enough votes to convict, it doesn't happen. Like the president doesn't get impeached. And so until the impeachment process actually happens, it's yeah, it's absolutely like Trump. The president would be immune to all things he did while president, under the if it's under the presidential duties. And if you can make the argument that, hey, this political rival is a threat to the United States, so I'm going to have him assassinated, blah 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 blah. Then protecting the United States is a duty of the president. Now, the way you can strip him of said immunity would be to impeach him. So you impeach him, he gets charged, he gets convicted, and that would remove him from office, and then it would strip him of that immunity for that particular situation, I believe, and then you could charge him criminally. That's the process you would need to charge a president criminally. But you can't be a Joe Schmo prosecutor, and after the president leaves office, be able to charge him with whatever you like from when he was in office. It's not how that works. That's the basics of what the argument they are, Trump's lawyers are saying. And I don't think people understand this. And it's hilarious to hear them say this. It's very funny. Let's see. What else? All right, I've been like tweeting back and forth, so let's see. Oh, and then they don't really understand that Supreme Court's the like final decision maker. Like they're the final decision maker. Because I saw a tweet: federal court, a president's not above the law. Federal appeals court, a president's not above the law. SCOTUS, not so fast. Yeah, because SCOTUS is the final decision maker. They could, all those lower courts could be like, hey, we don't, we believe X, and the Supreme Court would be like, no, this is what actually it goes for, and what they say wins. And I don't think people understand that. Like, yes, it doesn't matter if a bunch of other lower courts said one thing. If the Supreme Court decides something different, it's what they say goes. They're the final decision maker. Let's see. And they keep conflating that the immunity is absolute. It's not absolute immunity. It can be removed. There is a process, like I said, it's called impeachment. And there's another tweet where Rob Reiner's, saying that Trump needs to be held accountable for leading a violent attempt to overthrow the U.S. government. It's kind of funny because a violent attempt to overthrow the U.S. government. They didn't have any firearms, no supply lines, and it was 15 days before inauguration. And they didn't hold any hostages, didn't attempt to. And somehow it's a violent attempt to overthrow Trump's own government, which is hilarious. Oh, and then they're trying to call, an imposing of term limits on SCOTUS. It's not how it works. Even in the Constitution itself, it's written that SCOTUS is lifetime appointments, so you can't just change that with a hat. I don't think it's an amendable procedure or something that's amendable. But because, like, I believe in the Constitution itself, it says these are lifetime appointments, What's not in the Constitution itself is how many justices you can have, which is and I could be incorrect on that, but I believe that's why Congress is able to add an amendment saying this is how many or make a law. This is how many justices we're allowed to have. Because I don't think specifically in the framework that is written for the courts, it says how many justices you can have. It does, but I do believe it does say that you can be their lifetime appointments. I'm going to be right back. I got to hit the bathroom real quick. I'll be right back, guys. Sorry about that. Oh, my guts did not enjoy that. Apparently, fucking hell. All right, I forgot completely what I was talking about. Um, so I guess we'll just move on. Let's listen to hear what Rachel Maddow had to say about all this, because she's always the person I go to when I want to hear some intelligent, non-insane comments.
Is really presidential immunity an open question? Because what's the most famous pardon in American history? Gerald Ford pardoning Richard Nixon once he had resigned and was a former president. Why did Gerald Ford pardon Richard Nixon? Quote, as a result of certain acts or omissions occurring before his resignation as president, meaning as a result of stuff he did while president, quote, Richard Nixon has become liable to possible indictment and trial. Right. Whether or not he shall be so prosecuted depends on findings of the appropriate grand jury and the discretion of the authorized prosecutor. So the idea that this is an open question, that it might be that a former president can never be tried for something that he did.
What Rachel Maddow is kind of forgetting is the fact that Nixon never got close to trial. For all you know, Maddow, is if Nixon was sent to trial, he may very well made the argument, well, I did this as president and I'm immune to criminal acts, blah, blah, blah. But he was also about to be impeached and actually probably be our very first ever actual impeachment. And that's a big difference. But he never actually got to trial. So for all you know, Rachel Maddow, he would have made the arguments that Trump is making. And we may have had an answer to this question very well. No one is disputing that the president can be held, accountable for things he's did in office. But what we are talking about is the ability for some random Joe Schmo to go after a president for something he did while president. Regular prosecutor to do this. That's what we're really talking about. There is a process that we can go through to do this, and it's called impeachment. Even within Richard Nixon, the House, the Congress would still have to have impeached him, and I think you could probably even impeach him even after he left office, for the sake of stripping him of the immunity, so he can be held criminally liable for his actions. So, if that had gone through and Gerald Ford didn't pardon Nixon, then we very well may have had an answer to this question.
Did because he was president when he did it is disproven by a plain reading of American history and the whole justification for Richard Nixon being pardoned in the first place. So the idea that this has to be taken up is them saying the sky is green.
Right.
And I think
here again, Miss Maddow, you moron, it does have to be taken up because Richard Nixon's never got that far. He was never charged, nor was he ever put on trial. So yes, this has to be talked about because again, if Gerald Ford did not had not pardoned Nixon, this very well may have been a question put forth already to the Supreme Court. We may have already had an answer to this. But just because, the president could be held liable, blah, blah, but he never was. That's the thing. That's the difference. He never actually was. He was pardoned immediately by his successor, which was a terrible decision, by the way.
I think even for the non-lawyers among us to be able to say, you know what, the sky is not green even on our worst day. This is BS. You are doing this as a dilatory tactic to help your political friend, your partisan patron. And for you to say that this is something that the court needs to decide because it's something that's unclear in the law,
it's
just flagrant bullpucky. And they know it, and they don't care that we know it, and that's disturbing about the future legitimacy of the court.
See, Rachel Maddow made no good. Oh, Richard Nixon could have been held, but he never was. This is because, again, this incident could have been taken up then. We could have already had an answer to this, and we could already have dealt with this. But we didn't. We didn't. So just because, someone says, oh, the president, we're not, I don't think anyone's really disputing the president can be held liable. I think we're talking about the process in which he can be held liable, which you would need to have you would need to do a process. The process would be impeachment. Impeach him, remove him from office, and strip him of his immunity. Simple as that. But when Rachel Maddow doesn't understand that, it's more of, and I don't think a lot of people understand this because this is Trump. This is about Trump. So it's all about Trump is bad. We need to get rid of Trump. And they're not actually thinking of a process because, a consequence of this, if you're allowed to charge a president while he's in office or even afterwards he's in office, then, how can a leader be run effectively? Like, for example, say a leader goes and negotiates with an enemy of the United States, gives them, billions of dollars, millions to billions of dollars, and Joe Schmo, prosecutor, decides, hey, you know what? I don't like the fact that the president, gave aid and comfort to the enemy. I'm going to prosecute him, and then you're going to going to prosecute a president, and then you're going to prosecute a president, and then you're going to charge a president, put him on trial, put a jury in front of him, and then let's say he gets convicted. So then all of a sudden, Joe Schmo prosecutor can just remove a sitting president from office because he's been charged with a felony and needs to go to jail, right? How does that make any sense? And then how can a leader be effective if he cannot make the decisions in the moment? What effective leader could make any decision with the idea that, oh, if I make this decision and I get out of office, I'll fucking be charged for this. I could potentially be charged for this. So I'm gonna not make this decision. I'm gonna go with something that's not good for the country. I'm gonna do something that's good for me. So I'm not gonna do this act because I may get charged with it after I leave office. Doesn't make any sense. Cops have qualified immunity. You don't get if it falls under qualified immunity, you can't charge a cop with anything or a prosecutor. That doesn't change when they leave the job. When they retire, you can't come back and say, hey, you did this thing, 5 years ago before you left, or 4 years ago before you left before you left your police officer. This was violating my rights. I'm going to sue you or charge you criminally for violating my rights. You can't do that. So it's really not hard to wrap your head around immunity when we already have examples of it. All right, moving on. So I got things I need to do. I got that midstream shit has really fucked up my time frame. Illinois judge removes Trump from state ballot. Illinois is now the third state which Trump is booted from the ballot after Colorado and Maine. Let's read this. No, I'm not going for fucking Fox News. I'm not joining you, Fox News. Oh my fucking God. All right, hold on. Okay. All right. So an Illinois judge announced Wednesday that former President Trump has been removed from the state 2024 ballot, Republican presidential primary ballot, citing his role in January 6, 2021 Capitol riots. Cook County Circuit Judge Tracy Porter barred Trump from Illinois ballot 1 month after the anti-Trump challenge was dismissed by the Illinois State Boards of Elections. So, his judge has barred Trump from being on ballot, even though the Illinois State Board of Elections dismissed these anti-Trump challenges. So and this is the danger that we were talking about. She arbitrarily decided, no, we're not going to have Trump on the ballot. But her state board of elections had already dismissed these claims and said, no, he can be on the ballot, which is what I'm getting from here. So she decided on her own. We just gave this individual person so much power to remove a candidate from office, and we just removed that arbitrarily. This is what the danger we're talking about. Illinois goes to the polls March 19th. Illinois is now the third state where Trump was booted from ballot, but after Colorado and Maine, but those decisions were paused pending the appeal for the Colorado court case to the U.S. Supreme Court. So there you go. She by herself removed a candidate from office, even after her own electoral election state board said, no, we're going to have him on the ballot. This is what we were talking about. So look, all this this doesn't really matter. I mean, it kind of matters because there's a very few time before the Illinois ballot, but it doesn't really matter because the Supreme Court's going to come back with a decision and be like, "Hey, you can't do this. You're not allowed." So this is just ridiculous. This is a decision on the Supreme Court. They're going to even based on the arguments that were made and listening to the Supreme Court justices asking questions. We all know this. I would be shocked if this wasn't a 9-0 decision that a state can't remove Trump from the ballot. All right. So I mean, it's not that big of a deal. All right. So let's fact check Joe Biden. So like I said, Joe Biden was on his some sort of show, I can't remember, and he talked about how Trump forgot the name of his wife. Now let's see if that's actually true. Joe Biden's forgetfulness has become increasingly sore spot for his 2024 re-election campaign, highlighted in Special Counsel Robert Hur's recent remarks categorizing the president as an elderly man with a poor memory. The president has made several public gaffes, recently including confusing the president of Mexico with the president of Egypt during a press conference in which he was attempting to defend his mental fitness. However, speaking on Late Night with Seth Meyers on Monday, Biden leveled a similar jab at Republican rival Donald Trump, suggesting the former president had forgotten the name of his wife, Melania Trump. On a post on X, formerly Twitter, by President Joe Biden on February 27, 2024, included a clip of the Late Night with Seth Meyers, in which Meyers asked Biden about his age. Meyers said, all jokes aside, according to a recent poll, this is a real concern for American voters. How do you address that concern going forward as you come up to the 2024 election? Well, a couple things. Number one, you got to take a look at the other guy. He's about as old as I am, but he can't remember his wife's name. Biden posted on X alongside the video, the other guy and I are about the same age. No, you're not. Because when you enter office, you'll be 81. When he leaves office, you'll be 81. Here's the difference. When you get reelected, you'll be 81. When Trump leaves office after being elected, he will be 81. It's a big difference. The question in this election is, how old are your ideas? He wants to take us back 6 years. I'm focused on the future. Not really. No, you're not. Biden appeared to be referring to Donald Trump's recent CPAC address, following which some claim Trump referred to his wife Melania, as Mercedes. Well, look at my wife, our great first lady. She was great. People love her. Trump told the CPAC crowd on Saturday. The audience applauded, to which Trump responded, "Oh, look at that! Wow, Mercedes, that's pretty good." The comment was picked up online as apparent proof of Trump's cognitive decline. However, as was pointed out soon after, he was referring to Mercedes Shilup, his former White House director of strategic communications and wife of CPAC organizer Matt Schlapp. I don't know, Schlapp. Trump had mentioned Mercedes on several occasions throughout his speech on Saturday. Schlapp quickly responded to on Sunday via X, calling the claims against Trump fake news at its finest. So a lot of news. So it's funny. I didn't know that. But yeah, it was funny. So there we go. We got a fact check on Biden. He's like, oh, he can't remember his wife's name. Well, apparently he can. He was talking about some entirely different from her. Now, while you claim Trump can't remember his wife's name, you can't remember that your son is dead or how he died. I can't remember. And you don't remember when you were vice president. Very interesting. Kind of a big difference here. We have proof of that. So you don't really get to talk Biden. All right, moving on. Let's talk about Laken Riley. Laken Riley, nursing student Laken Riley. As everyone knows, she was the girl who was murdered by Venezuelan migrant. Nursing student Laken Riley desperately tried to call 911 last week when a Venezuelan migrant pounced on her during a morning run. It was revealed Wednesday. Police documents showed that Jose Antonio Ibarra, 26, prevented the 22-year-old from dialing the emergency helpline before he dragged her body to a secluded area after his vicious attack. Ibarra then panicked and likely bashed in her skull, while Riley bravely tried to fight back, according to an analysis by a former Colonel profiler. Riley was found hours later on the University of Georgia campus with a disfigured skull. She died of blunt force trauma. The gruesome details of her injuries in New Orleans suggest that the Augusta University College of Nursing student likely fought back when she was grabbed during a run, and her killer likely panicked while trying to subdue her. In this case, the offender was met with resistance, which he wasn't expecting, and he got overpowered, and he couldn't control it and resorted to violence. John Lang Jr., a former Georgia Bureau of Investigation investigator, but he didn't know what he was in for. I suspect she'd probably fight back, said Lang, Colonel profiler not involved in the case. He's not a very big fella. He may have been overwhelmed by her size and her strength and tenacity to fight back. Concealing her body, that's just an opportunity to distance himself from the crimes. Added that the investigators can't rule out sexual assault as a possible motive in the heinous crime. And looking at this whole scene, he's like this. This is like a disorganized offender. That's what we call them. He's added, he just does it on the spur of a moment for whatever motivating factors. Ibarra, who is reportedly 5 feet 7 inches tall, I'm taller than that fucker, is charged with malicious murder, felony murder, aggravated battery, aggravated assault, false imprisonment, kidnapping, hindering a 911 call, and concealing the death of another. Riley was kidnapped and killed while she was out for a run on the University of Georgia campus on Thursday. Charging documents accused Ibarra of causing great bodily harm with an object without specifying exactly what it was. He's also charged with aggravated battery for seriously disfiguring her body by disfiguring her skull, according to the affidavit shared by Fox News. The suspect, who entered the U.S. illegally in El Paso last year, twice slipped through the hands of law enforcement and could have been deported after a bust in the Big Apple. Riley, who transferred to the University of Georgia to the nearby Augusta University School of Nursing last year, is planning to be mourned at funeral services Friday. Okay, so when I looked at this, the initial headline was suggesting that, Riley was being blamed for murder or anything like that. It didn't seem like that. It seems like he was just making an analysis, and the profile was like, well, this is probably why he did what he did. And it's not really blaming Riley for being murdered. It was more of, this is why he did what he did. So just explaining the thought process and why, someone murdered someone. I don't think that's really blaming Riley. So I think the headline that I saw on this was inaccurate. Not surprising. So let's see what people, because I believe this is the mayor of the city in which this happened, and he's apparently popular for being more forgiving to migrants than his own people. So let's check this out.
City doesn't track with either of those. And so that term means different things to different people depending on the context of the discussion.
We know what
Many-
it means.
Many of the
We know
elements,
what it means.
many of the elements,
Liar.
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 we
Liar.
we are here to listen.
Liar.
You're a liar.
We are here to listen.
Liar.
There'll be
You're
time
a
for
liar.
questions.
You are guilty and got blood on your head for this murder, sir.
Many of the aspects that are ascribed to sanctuary cities
We know what sanctuary
Are
cities
things
mean.
that are disallowed by Georgia law.
Sanctuary policy, which is what we do.
And we contribute a document every year to the Georgia Department of Audits indicating that we do not correspond to these definitions under state law.
Yes, you do.
And no policy has
This
been
guy's not
adopted by
letting
the
up.
Mayor and Commission
You're
that have
insulting
created
our
sanctuary
intelligence.
city status in
Sir.
Athens.
You need to resign.
One protocol that sometimes arises,
Resign.
Resign now.
You allowed
protocol.
this to happen, sir.
one protocol that
You
sometimes
voted for
arises
this.
is the approach that sheriff's offices and
I don't think people like him. Yeah, I don't think people are very happy with him. Calling him a liar. This is the problem with sanctuary cities. Come back and bite you in the ass. Oh my God, it's fucking ridiculous. I hate sanctuary cities. All right, so Mitch McConnell is stepping down from GOP leadership as a Senate Minority Leader. That's all I'm really gonna say about this. I don't care about Mitch McConnell. He's going to continue serving the Senate, but he's going to let someone else take the leadership, which is good because that dude's 82. He's way too old for being in leadership, and he doesn't do very well, if I remember correctly. Yeah, he blamed Trump for provoking the attack. Makes no sense. And then he's also been having some health problems where he just like stares off to space and like pauses. So I mean, at the very least, at least he's willing to step aside and be like, all right, look, it's time for me to step aside. I'm done. So you can at least give him the props on that aspect where he at least stepped aside and was like, look, I'm getting too old. I'm having some issues here. It's I shouldn't be leader anymore. So props to him at the very least. Let's see. So I'm calling an audible here because this just happened, and it looks like Steve Baker of the Blaze has been arrested for his involvement in January 6th. What was his involvement? He was reporting on the events. That was his involvement. He's a journalist who reported on the events. So let's check this out. So Blaze News investigative journalist Steve Baker, who for years has been searching for the truth about January 6th, 2021, and believes the U.S. government has been targeting him for it, on Friday was charged with four misdemeanors related to his January 6th coverage at the U.S. Capitol after turning himself in to the FBI in Dallas. Charges are knowingly entering or remaining in a restricted building or grounds without lawful authority, disorderly and disruptive conduct in a restricted building, disorderly conduct in the Capitol building, parading, demonstrating, or picketing in a Capitol building. So simply reporting on something is apparently disruptive. Baker learned of the charges for the first time Friday, and earlier this week told Blaze News that the powers that be wouldn't tell his attorney about the charges because they believe Baker will post them on social media. So Baker's Dallas attorney, James Lee Bright, added to Blaze News that withholding the nature of his charges against his client was a really unusual move. Bright told Blaze News that he's disturbed about what's happening with his client, especially given that Baker has been in full compliance all this time. Bright also said the federal government, 3+ years later, going after people who were legitimately functioning journalists that day, appeared designed appears designed to have an absolute chilling effect. Baker added that when he asked his other attorney, William Shipley, why the U.S. government is treating him like this, Shipley replied, "You know why? You've been poking them in the eye for 3 years." Earlier this week, Baker said the FBI instructed him to self-surrender Friday morning, and Baker did just that. While Baker said the agency told him to show up at the field office in shorts and sandals, which he said typically means authorities want him to make it easier to prep an individual for a humiliation perp walk routine, Baker, dignified as ever, arrived in a suit and tie. Gee. Later, he was placed in handcuffs, walked by a pair of agents to a vehicle, transported to a courthouse. Baker's Blaze Media editor-in-chief, Matthew Peterson, who accompanied Baker to the FBI field office, posted the following reaction: "Tough to watch, totally unnecessary. There is no reason to take him into custody and have U.S. Marshals transport him to the courthouse. We expect and hope to see him on the other side of this in the following few hours. In few hours." Glenn Beck, co-founder of the Blaze Media, wrote in a Friday morning op-ed that Baker's First Amendment battle is ours too. When the U.S. government can come after individuals, that's when you know our republic is crumbling. I've always said that if they can go after Donald Trump, they will go after people like you and me. And now they are. But Stephen Baker's not deterred, neither are we. Beck on Thursday asked Baker how he's holding up. Here's how Baker responded. Okay, well, I can't see this. What else? Baker announced in December that the FBI said the U.S. Department of Justice would be charging him for his January 6th reporting, but 2 days later, he noted the FBI said his self-surrender was postponed until after Christmas. It's been a waiting game since. Yeah, so this is basically, all this is clearly they're arresting a journalist for journalizing. That's all they're really doing. I don't know, apparently you can't even report on an event without being hit with the charge of, well, you're participating. I'm reporting on it. I'm just trying to give the people the news. Well, you're participating now, so we're going to arrest you. So we'll see how this goes. Considering the charges against him, it's really mild. So he was there, and you don't like that he was there. That's the basics of what the charges are. All right. If that's what you want to say, I guess that's what you want to say, but that's just dumb as hell. All right. So that's all I got for you fine folks today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you make sure you like it, subscribe, give me a follow, and make me feel important. That's all I ask. Just ask you guys, make me feel important. Just want to feel important again. Yeah, just like the video. We'll like. Yeah, I hope you guys have a good day. And it's Friday, thank God. Keep an eye out on X. See when if I go live, I'll be going on my gaming channel, rumble.com/gamingwithghost. That's my gaming channel. So, just be on the lookout for that. That's all I got. I hope you have a good day. Peace out.